If you're managing IT in a K-12 district, you already know the pressure's on. So today, we're going to break down one of the most critical parts of your defense, really mastering the detect function of the NIST Cybersecurity Framework. Let's just dive right in.
And let's start with the reality of our environment. I mean, this isn't some abstract threat, right? It's a daily battle, more than one incident per school day. That's the baseline we're all operating from, which makes our ability to detect these threats and detect them early absolutely essential.
And this slide, wow, it just perfectly captures the core challenge, doesn't it? On one hand, we're target-rich. We hold vast amounts of sensitive student and staff data, making us a super attractive target for attackers. But at the same time, we're often cyber-poor, trying to make it all work with limited budgets, small teams, and way fewer resources than the private sector. This is the tightrope we walk every single day.
All right, so let's set the stage and take a closer look at this battlefield we're on. Because understanding the real-world consequences of a breach, well, that's the first step toward building a defense that actually works.
You know, a breach isn't just some IT headache. It can literally shut down learning for an entire district. But the single biggest threat we need to detect, the one that keeps us up at night, is lateral movement. This is the game changer. It's when an attacker gets a foothold on one machine, maybe a teacher's laptop, and then uses it as a launchpad to move silently across the network, hunting for the real prize, your critical servers and all that sensitive data.
So, the big question is, how do we spot that lateral movement before it's too late? Well, that brings us to our main tool for the job, our digital watchdog, the Intrusion Detection and Prevention System, or IDPS. An IDPS is really the cornerstone of the detect function in that whole NIST framework. Its entire purpose, its reason for existing, is to be the alarm system for your network. It's designed to give you the visibility you need to spot incidents as they're happening, not days or weeks after the fact.
So here's the crucial point. Think of an IDPS as your early warning system. It is constantly watching, looking for anomalies to catch an incident before it explodes into a full-blown crisis. And for a lot of us, this functionality is actually already built into our next-generation firewalls. That Integrated Intrusion Prevention System, or IPS, is specifically designed to look for and block known exploits and malware before they can get a foothold.
Okay, so let's get practical. Having an IDPS is one thing, but knowing where to place its sensors for maximum effect, that's what separates a noisy, useless tool from a really powerful defense.
And this slide does a great job of breaking down the two main flavors of IDPS. On the left, you've got Network IDPS, or NIDS. Think of this like security cameras watching the main hallways of your network. It's great for that broad, big-picture visibility. Then on the right, you have Host IDPS, or HIDS. These are more like motion sensors you place inside your most important rooms, your critical servers, giving you a really deep inspection of exactly what's happening on that machine itself.
Okay, look, if you take only one thing away from this whole explainer, let it be this. Because we are so concerned about ransomware, HIDs is our most valuable player. It's the tool that's going to spot those key indicators of compromise, or IOCs, of an active attack. Things like a weird account trying to access a domain controller or a strange process that starts encrypting files. It's what catches that lateral movement.
So where do you put these host-based sensors? It's simple. You prioritize your crown jewels. We're talking your domain controllers, the servers that literally hold the keys to the kingdom, your student information systems, the SIS databases with all that sensitive student data, and of course your key file servers. Why? Because an alert from one of these systems isn't just noise. It's a high-fidelity signal that something is seriously wrong.
Now, while HIDs is absolutely crucial for spotting threats inside your network, don't forget to use your firewall to detect threats coming from the outside. Your firewall probably has denial of service or DOS protection features. You've got to make sure they're enabled for things like your web and email servers. You do that by setting thresholds for SYN, UDP, and ICMP floods to keep them from getting knocked offline.
Okay, so we've placed our sensors. The data is starting to flow in. But now we have to face what might be the single biggest operational challenge for any cyber-poor IT team, managing the absolute flood of alerts.
Does this feel a little too familiar? Yeah, alert fatigue is a real problem. When you're getting bombarded with hundreds, maybe even thousands of meaningless alerts a day, it becomes almost impossible to spot the one that actually matters. Let's be honest, a noisy IDPS is just as bad as having no IDPS at all.
So, how do we fix this? It really comes down to a three-step process. First, you have to baseline. You need to deeply understand what normal traffic looks like in your district, from the morning bell to after-school programs. Second, you tune.
And this is where the real work is. You have to meticulously teach your system what to ignore, like that huge traffic spike from district-wide testing software, to get rid of those false positives. And third, you categorize. You have to set up clear rules so your team knows exactly what to do when a real alert finally comes through.
And this table here, it's a perfect example of what that categorization looks like in practice. A level 1 is just for logging in review later. A level 2 means you need to investigate. But a level 3 critical alert, an indicator of an active breach or that lateral movement we've been talking about, that's an escalate now event. This means an immediate notification goes out to the IT director and your formal incident response team gets activated. This kind of framework empowers everyone to act decisively.
And hey, remember, effective detection doesn't have to break the bank. For districts that might have more time than money, there are powerful open-source tools like Snort or Suricata that can deliver enterprise-grade detection capabilities. They can really help you bridge that cyberpoor gap.
All right, we've tuned our alerts, we've got a clear action plan, but there's one final piece to the puzzle that honestly ties everything together and makes true detection actually possible: centralization.
Just think about it for a second. An alert from your firewall, a strange login on a server, and an unusual process on a workstation, if those are all stuck in separate log files, they're just disconnected bits of noise. But when you put them together, they tell the story of an attack. Without a central place to see them all at once, you're basically flying blind.
And this is exactly where a SIEM comes in. You can think of it as your security command center. A security information and event management system isn't a luxury. For effective detection and for auditing, it is absolutely mandatory. It's the system that pulls in all those disconnected puzzle pieces from your firewalls, your servers, and your IDPS and puts them all together so you can finally see the full picture.
And that brings us to a very stark warning. Once you centralize all of your logs, that SIEM or log server becomes your single most important security asset, period. It holds the primary source of evidence you'll need for any forensic investigation. It has to be isolated, hardened, and protected with the most stringent controls you've got.
And so we'll end with this question. Look, having a well-tuned detection system is fantastic. It lets you see the attack coming. But seeing is only half the battle. The next critical step is response and recovery. Have you documented your procedures? And more importantly, have you actually tested them to make sure you can recover when that critical alert finally comes in? Because that, right there, is the difference between simply being ready and being truly resilient.